Guruji, can you tell us something about this Devas and Asuras model of the Samudra Manthan to get a better understanding of that in the context of our discussions today?
Okay.
And then I will
Okay.
ask my other questions.
See, the reason why I brought this model, actually I took the model from Veda Vyasa's Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Samudra Manthan model is presented, but it is presented in the context of cosmic creation. That is, how is the world itself srishtikapattirukka, அந்த மாதிரி இது. But I apply it to Jyotish, and I also use it as a model for consciousness come awareness for both. Now the models are very important because it gives you a framework. Now without having a proper framework, you don't have a worldview. Then your thinking is all going to be extremely wonky. For example, in India we have 6 classical darshanas: Yoga, Sankhya, Purva Mimamsha, Uttar Mimamsha, and Nyaya. Nyaya is logic. So, but in truth, there are infinite number of worldviews depending on what is the subject in which you have been groomed. For example, if you are groomed in the world of finance with a good understanding of the history of money matters in all civilizations, ancient and contemporary, then you'll have a certain outlook on life, certain understanding of life. If you're a physicist, you will have some other outlook on life. If you're a historian, you will have yet another outlook on life. If you're an astrologer, you will have a different outlook on life. So this is an outlook or a framework of life in which what is implicit is it's a divine-centric model. There is the source of all life, but the source of all life is hiding. It is in the realm of the unmanifest. It is the vigrahas in the temples refer to that, but it cannot be touched by the mind. It cannot be received by the eyes. It cannot be received by the ears. It's completely intangible. It cannot be grasped by the senses. That's the nature of that transcendental reality. So you can call it transcendental reality. So that is that Bhagavan sitting on top of that pillar. And that pillar is vertical, and it connects you to that supreme Godhead, not God, but Godhead. That is the climactic thing of the divine, the climactic thing which is in the unmanifest realm. And the lower end of that pillar is awareness, atma or awareness. Atma means every one of us has a sense of self, not really a self as a thought and feeling or a quirky desire, not like that, but a very placid and a very silent and a very calm sense of being we have. All of us have that. Even lizards and other creatures have. So that is that pillar, that sense of Atma. Now, many people may have a quarrel why we are giving so much importance to that pillar and to that sense of being, because it seems to be nothing. It gives you the feeling that there is nothing at all. It's not even tangible. It is just, it's not even the pulse beat. It is not even your breath. Then what is it? Okay. Do you people have a sense that you are there, that there is life in you? Do you have the feeling or not? If you pose the question, then everybody is going to definitely say, yes, I have a feeling that I'm alive. And it's quite nice to be alive. And it's quite nice to look at the world. Now, that self is that. It's a very placid. The lake is very calm. No ripples there. That is that central pillar. That name for that is Atma. And where does it lead you? It leads you to Godhead, to the divine. And then at the other end of that is completely embroiled and enmeshed in the dirty waters of life. All the turbulence that you see there. Life by its very nature is chaotic, Life by its very nature is topsy-turvy, is unpredictable, is samsara, what they call samsara, which is full of pain and full of excitement and full of pleasure. All that is typified by the turbulent waters. Now, on one side are arrayed luminous figures. They are called the Devic energies, and they are the benefic so-called planets in Vedic astrology. And the other side, you have these dark energies. They do destructive work. For example, they will destroy your security. They will destroy your health. They will destroy your sense of self. They will destroy your reputation. They will create a professional downfall. They'll do all sorts of all the things which give us sorrow. So both energies are present simultaneously. They exist, and like the north and south pole of a magnet, like the north and south pole of the Earth, which has got a polar magnet, like that.
Pain and pleasure.
Pain and pleasure, for contradictory, self-contradictory. Now, if you see, the crux of the whole thing is in that Kala Sarpa, or the serpent of time, which is shown in a very vicious way. It looks terrifying, that Kala Sarpa or serpent of time, because time will make saints into sinners, it will make sinners into saints, it will make kings into beggars, it will make beggars into kings. It's a very dangerous force, that time. Krishnamurti calls time the mischief maker. Time is the mischief maker. Time is dangerous. And so they are negotiating that Kala Sarpa, that time, and they are churning. And that churning, was it switched on at some point in our life? No. It has no beginning, it has no end, that churning. It is an eternally going on thing. And the moment you're born, the churning is in place, it's going. Throughout your life, the churning is going on. And do you add something to the churning? Are you one of those energies? Yes, you're one of those energies. You can add to the churning. You are a player in the churning, but is your part total or is your part fragmentary? Your part is fragmentary. You're not the total. You're not the master architect of the churning. You're not the master controller of the churning. The churning is the handiwork of the divine. Is continuous orchestration of the good and the bad events. Now, that's a model for us about how the human drama is going on. And we have got to use that model to understand much of what Krishnamurti is saying. And Krishnamurti's emphasis is on awareness, which is the central pillar. And then the top end of the awareness ends up in the divine. The lower end is enmeshed and embroiled in the mushy waters of life, in the murky waters of life. The murky waters everywhere. Now, the desires, the flurry in consciousness, the aspirations, the goals, that I want to do this, I want to do that, all that is the creation of the Devic energies and the Asuric energies, the cosmic life energies. They are continuously throwing water on our face, the water of desire. Some desire or the other constantly is beating. Constantly we are getting some desire or the other. It's a perpetually ongoing thing. There's no beginning, there's no end. That's the very mysterious thing about it. In every human life, this desire is constantly going on. Sometimes it becomes very exciting and some big event is going to happen, like somebody is getting married. And sometimes it's very tragic, a death happened in the family. Everything is covered from alpha to omega. So it's a model of life. It's a model of the human drama. It's a model of consciousness awareness. All the dynamical things is consciousness. All the timeless thing, which is the central pillar, that's the atma or the awareness. And the atma or the awareness is watching everything. So you have the option of aligning with the atma and being a witness to everything which is happening in consciousness and in the body. That's an option for you. The other thing is, don't go near the atma, even though that's really who you are, but identify yourself with one or two of those energies or with all the energies, and then have the multiple roles and have the multiple personalities which you anyhow have. Have all of that and enjoy the contradictory nature of life, of pleasure and pain, of high and low, of right and wrong, of good and bad, everything. Self-contradictory.
So, related question to this. So this drama is playing in everybody's life.
Right.
Do we see, do we identify ourselves, every person, with the positive energies, and people whom we don't like, we assign them to be on the demonic side? Do we
Yeah,
keep
the
doing
self
that?
does that. The self does that. The self thinks that it has got villains in life and considers itself to be a hero. And it never understands that it is also a villain in its own life. It never goes so far. But its perception is completely polarized into good and bad, right and wrong, high and low. So it holds other people responsible for its sorrow. It's in deep sorrow, but it holds other people responsible as the architects of the sorrow. But it is not at all cognizing that it is a co-architect in the whole thing. It's never looked at it that way. But it has messed up matters because of which only the villains came into existence.
So for a mumukshu also the same thing still goes on?
Definitely, for everybody. But for mumukshus, all these fluttering energies, the Devic energies and the Asuric energies, they are by and large much more pacified. For Sthita Prajna, Sthita Prajna means one whose prajna or awareness is well established. Sthita, it has become stable, become very stable, not flickering like a tube light, not flickering like a candle light if you keep the candle
Not
light.
jumping between the two ends.
No. It's the central pillar. It's very stable. It's well established. Sthita Prajna, stable. The intelligence and the awareness is strong, is stable. Such a one is a Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna, the spiritual life, the most important milestone is Sthita Prajna's milestone. As Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita, where you know that you are that atma, you are that awareness. And the second important milestone is the Sthita Prajna discovers who is the divine and who is himself. That's the second milestone. There are no other milestones in the spiritual journey. First milestone is Sthita Prajna. Second milestone is that there is a divine. You've got to not believe in the divine. You've got to actually make a discovery of the divine. Through an experience. You've got to experiment with the divine. The divine is a reality which is intangible. He's not a person with a long nose or a short nose whom you can touch and see. No, he's not available for that. He is very subtle. He is in totally another realm. Now you've got to somehow get a conviction by doing your experiments of Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. Shruti, you study the scriptures. Then Yukti, you develop the apparatus of thinking which the religious traditions give you. Yukti and Anubhuti. Then finally you get an experience which applies the ISI seal. It says, yeah, you got it, man. You passed the exam. You discovered the divine. You've got to get that seal. Anubhuti. How will you get it? Through an experience. You've got to experiment with the divine, and the divine has to testify to you that it is in existence for true, not nominally or not according to your stupid belief. No.
In this context, Guruji, both Buddha and Krishnamurti do not speak about the divine.
They don't, yeah.
Any particular reason why they've avoided that completely?
I think we are treading dangerous ground, but okay, we'll go into it because we are not afraid of anybody or anything. See, there are different proclivities in human consciousness. Different human beings have got different divine architectures. Some people will be daredevils, and some people will be audacious experimenters. I think the Buddha was a very audacious experimenter. Because why? Because there was a Vedic tradition on the one side, very strong Vedic tradition. And the Buddha kept it by the side. He didn't want to take refuge in that Vedic tradition. He was out and out an experimentalist. That is, he wants to experiment with the truth. So the moment he realized, he had an insight by looking at the very old poor man, by looking at the sick person, and by looking at the dead body being carried, he got in a flashing insight that the essential nature of human life is sorrow. That's the beginning of the journey. He got that somehow in a lightning flash, lightning insight, that the essential nature of human life is sorrow. And he probably felt that what is the point of it all? If the essential nature of human life is sorrow, why are we all here? That's the next question. So he embarked on that meditative voyage for 6 long years, wanting to find out why the whole thing is so tragic and why the whole thing is so messy. And he did his own investigations. And he, being exceptionally brilliant and a genius, the Buddha cut an altogether new darshana, a worldview, which is not Sankhya, not Yoga, not Purvamimamsha, not Uttaramimamsha. It is the Buddha's worldview, what we call today Buddhism. And completely new, independent religious darshana. It is not Advaita Vedanta of Shankara, no, it's different. So he got at that, and because he went all the way up till the end, he didn't stop halfway. And now the end happens to be, you know what the end is. The end is unmanifest. And there are no 63 dolls, like 63 9 Mars figures kept there and self-announcing themselves that we are only the divine, we are Parabrahma. Nothing like that. It's complete sea of tranquility. Your final destination is complete sea of tranquility. There are no name boards there. There are no vigrahas there. There is no matter there. There is no, even observer is not there. So the Buddha wanted to apprehend that reality, transcendental reality. And he gave that name Shunyata, the essential nature of being nothing. Quantum mechanics throws much more light, stunning light on it, because it's called the 0 point energy of the quantum field. That is, it's infinite in its energy, and the whole energy is pregnant. It's not manifest yet. Infinite amount of energy, it is pregnant, it is silent. That is the nothingness. A physicist understands this very well. It's called the 0 point energy of the quantum field. And that's the starting point, Genesis. And in that Genesis, ground Genesis, according to the Vedic Darshana, the Hindu Darshana, our father and mother are there. Divine Father, Divine Mother. And I would go not with the Buddha and Krishnamurti, I go with the Hindu rishis, because they had a deeper apprehension of that ultimate ground of life. And because the Buddha only said Shunyata, but the Hindus realized that if the divine has architectured this thing called life, and this life itself is so mesmerizing, is so tantalizing, then what must be the life in the divine? Can you imagine that? If this life, earthly life, tinsel show, is so mesmerizing, tantalizing, baffling in its infinite diversity, then what must be the source like? So the source is Paramapita, Paramamata, is Parameshwara, Parameshwari. It started there. And the starting point is, yes, Parabrahma. In Vedanta, the name is Parabrahma. The Hindus had a much more deeper and much more grandiose understanding of that ground of all life than in Buddhism. So, if the Buddha had only dialogued with very good Hindu sages who must have been present in his lifetime and who must have been self-realized, definitely, they must have been there. And if he had had the humility, his vision would have been revised. He did not have the humility, and he deliberately wanted to be heterodox and deliberately wanted to be an independent investigator into the transcendental reality. Therefore, he kept his whatever thing he created. It was did not put it to the test of reconciliation with the Vedic tradition. So it's and the Bhagavad Gita is which is a typical an essential living piece of the Vedic tradition. Let me see if I can remember that sutra. Nasat tanna saduchyate. Padrashtam Antacha. No, not that. So the Bhagavad Gita says the transcendental reality, Pravakshyami. So he says, now I'll tell you what is to be found. He's telling Arjuna, after you become a Sthita Pragya, now I'll tell you what is to be found. He's telling you have to find that nameless source, that Parabrahma, and you cannot say it exists, you cannot say it does not exist. That's the verdict of the Gita. Asat tanna asaduchyate. That is, you cannot say it exists. The name for that is Sat, absolute reality. And you cannot say it does not exist. Why can you not say that it does not exist? Because you cannot catch hold of somebody and take him there to Mount Road or somewhere and show him, see, like that. You can't show that. You can't demonstrate the existence of that because it's unmanifest. It's not like Taj Mahal, or it's not like some other monument, Kailash. You take a pilgrimage tour and you go and have darshan of that. It's unmanifest, so you cannot demonstrate. Nasat tanna saduchyate. So it is spoken of as both existent and non-existent. And therefore the Buddha's thing belongs to the category of that it does not exist. But I don't go with that. I have evidence to the contrary in my life that it's a transcendental reality and it is much more alive than you and me. If you and me can be anointed and sanctified as living beings, that is supra-living. Therefore, we have to honor. That's why worship is very important in Sanatana Dharma. Worship. In Christianity and in Hinduism and in Sikhism, you worship and you adore the divine. Because you know that the divine is apad bandhava. That is, he will respond to you in times of distress. And his bhaktavatsala, he is very affectionate to his devotee who thinks of him, who comes to him, who approaches him. So the Hindu understanding is infinitely superior to the Buddhist understanding. Infinitely superior. Infinitely vast in its conception. But the Buddhist thing is analytical, is investigative, is inquiry-based, not devotion-based. That's why the West has accepted Buddhism. It's slower to accept Hinduism. But Hinduism is actually equal to 1,000 religions. Not one religion, 1,000. Because it is showing you diverse ways of approaching the divine. Not one way. According to, you might like to go in one way, I might like to go in another way, somebody else will like to go in another way. So it depends on the divine architecture of that person. For Varkirti, he will approach the divine through theoretical physics, like David Bohm. You will approach it like a Vaishnavite. I might approach it like a Shaivite. Somebody else will approach it like the ancient Jews. Somebody else following Guru Nanak in a different way. So you have infinite number of approaches to that transcendental reality. And so long as you're happy with your approach, that you want to go that particular way, it's very pleasing to you and it's giving you huge ananda, then you're entitled to it and you can declare that is your perception of the divine. And the Hindu thing, it celebrates the diversity. Tremendous, it celebrates. It's very magnanimous, tremendously magnanimous. Adhikari bheda nyaya. Adhikari is the disciple who is inquiring into the truth. And one person who is inquiring is different from another person who is inquiring. Bheda. There's a difference between one adhikari and another adhikari. Nyaya means the principle that 2 seekers or 10 seekers will have widely different temperaments and widely different inclinations to approach the transcendental reality according to their divine their temperament. So they will describe the transcendental reality in their own way. Legitimate.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
But you're right that Krishnamurti and the Buddha, that Krishnamurti leans on the Buddhist side, not on the Hindu side. Very right. There's a lot more to it, but we won't go into it now.
Okay. Thank you.